Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video, we're going to talk about some SAP tables that you can use as reference for change logs. These tables will be Cdhdr and Cdpos. Just so we're organized with the tutorial, I will provide an overview of our discussion. First off, we're going to talk about the purpose, and then we're going to move on to differentiating those two SAP tables, after which we will try to understand how to use those tables. And towards the end, I will be providing additional information for those of you who are interested. And of course, I will be providing a summary just so you guys get a quick snapshot or summary of everything that we discussed. Let's start off with the purpose. So I did mention that there will be cases or instances wherein you might need to double check your changes. Let's say if you changed some master data or an SAP document or two, there might be cases wherein the change log is not readily available. Now, for those of you who are familiar with actual SAP reports, standard SAP reports that provide change logs, yes, that is available for your utilization. But in this case, there might be scenarios wherein a custom program might be created in the SAP environment. Let's say that it performs changes and sadly it does not store the change logs. So if ever you're dealing with this type of scenario wherein, let's say, it shows the logs or the change logs after execution, but it is no longer possible for you to view that again after exiting the transaction or program, then you might need to have a backup plan. This is where the two SAP tables come in handy. I did emphasize here that this may be a problem for consultants, especially if there is a need to review or backtrack the changes done. Now that we know the purpose, we want to try and differentiate those two tables. In order for you to do that, first you need to understand the main difference between those two SAP tables. So when I say Cdhdr, this will contain the header details, while Cdpos or Cdpos table will contain the line item details. Typically, an SAP document will have two main parts. So if you'll notice the orange box over here, this is the area for the document header details. And over here, if you refer to the green box, this talks about the document line items. This is a view that you can access through transaction code FB03, and it basically helps us view posted accounting documents. Now, if we view an actual example, let me scroll down, you'll see that the document details will look something like this. So if you see the outline of the orange box, it's still over here saying that this is the document header. And if we refer to the details below that is enclosed in the green outline, then this refers to the document line items. If we go through each of them, let's start off with the header details. You'll notice that you have a couple of details that basically talk about the overall document. So you'll see that there's a document number, it's over here, the company code, which is over here, fiscal year, document type is over here, so on and so forth. And these are just a few details that I highlighted or mentioned for the header details. So again, if you notice, header details talks about the overall document. For the line items, if we scroll down below, you'll see that if I double click on each of these line items, you'll be directed to this type of screens. So if we try and focus on these line items of the document, you'll see several line items that clearly itemize the transaction posting. If we take a look at the amount over here, you have 100 euros, you've got 82.65 and 17.35. If we add them all up, it should equate to 0. I also mentioned here that this time you can notice that there's a breakdown of the amount per line, which we talked about a while ago, and it overall shows a balanced debit and credit. Here is a screenshot that can help you visualize further. So if we take a look at this example, you'll see that the line items all amount to 0. That means that it has a balanced debit and credit. You'll also see the following information. I mentioned that there's a posting key, which is over here, the GL account over here, text, the amount, tax code. You'll also see that over here as part of the line items, so on and so forth. So if we try and summarize the document header and line items, you can refer to this. If I want to view the header details of the financial accounting document, I will refer to SAP Table BKPF. This is a table for accounting document header. And if I want to view the line item details of the financial accounting document, I will refer to SAP Table BSEG, which is the table for accounting document segment or line items. I have included screenshots of those tables that I mentioned, those standard SAP tables. So here's an example of BKPF, the accounting document header. You'll see that I enter the document number that I was showing you a while ago, as well as the company code and fiscal year. These are the main search criteria that you need to input in order to really isolate and view the details of that document. If you scroll down, you'll see the result. It looks something like this. And if we, on the other hand, try and view table BSEG, with the same search criteria, you'll be presented with the result below. So you'll notice that for table BKPF, you've got the header details of the document. And if we go to table BSEG result, you'll see that the 3 line items are included in the search results. This may be quite confusing for beginners, but basically, if you want to know how these 2 tables or 2 SAP tables are linked, I mentioned that it is the financial accounting document number, the company code, and the fiscal year that establishes the linkage. So you'll see that in the 2 tables, you've got the company code, document number, and year, fiscal year. And if we go to the result of BKPF, you'll see that there's the company code, document number, and year. So these are the same details that we're using to search to arrive with the result that we're looking for. This is a clearer view of how they are linked. You'll see that these details are the same, and if you put the results side by side, you'll see all of the related details of the financial accounting document that we're looking for, both header and line item details. Why am I explaining those 2 tables and not Cdhdr and Cdpos? Before, the reason why I showed you an example of BSEG and BKPF, I want you guys to associate or remember that type of logic or approach for Cdhdr and Cdpos tables. Basically, it follows the same concept, and the only difference is that Cdhdr and Cdpos tables focus on the changes done. So this is a summary that helps you differentiate. I hope that's clear enough, and this time let's try to move on to how can we use Cdhdr and Cdpos tables. For this portion, I will discuss a standard SAP example and a custom SAP program example, just so you guys can visualize the 2 and how to utilize them. It's also good to note that when a document has been changed in SAP, a change document number is created. So aside from the document number that you're focusing on whenever you make changes, there is a change document number, which documents the change that you have done. So this is just a gentle reminder as we go through the examples. Let's start off with standard SAP. If I go to transaction code SE16N to view the Cdhdr table, you'll see that it looks something like this. The next step would be to narrow down or filter your search results by filling in the parameters for the table. You'll see over here that I specified the user and the date, so I can retrieve the change document number that I'm concerned with or that I want to analyze. The change document number will be the linkage or the basis of our search for the next table, which is Cdpos. So once I've done this, I will click on the execute button and you'll see the results over here. You'll see that there's the object value, the document number, the user, as well as the date, so on and so forth. There are a couple of details that I highlighted over here which you can refer to in the blog post. Once you're done with the search in Cdhdr, you want to copy all of the concerned change document numbers. So in this case, we're talking about this column over here. I want to copy this document number. I'll copy that document number and open a separate table for my Cdpos search. So this time we know the header and we want to retrieve the actual changes or try to establish a link between those two tables. Go to SE16N, enter Cdpos as the table. You'll paste the change document number that you copied. Once you're done with that, click on the execute button and you should see the following results. So this is where you can proceed with your analysis or extract, and this is a pretty good example of how the change details are recorded. You'll notice that the document number is over here and the recorded changes are over to the right side. You'll see the old value as well as the new value, as well as the field that was changed or updated. This is a basic example for standard SAP. This time we're going to move on to the custom program example. Basically, the steps remain the same. And for custom SAP programs that deal with massive document changes, you need to be aware of what the program is changing. Some generic questions that you can ask yourself would be, is it a financial accounting document that's being changed? Is it a material document, contract document, so on and so forth? And this should help you narrow down the results of the two tables. Let's say that our scenario for this example is that there is a custom program that performs massive changes to contract documents in SAP following a certain logic or criterion. The logic is not important for us in this discussion. The main thing that we want to focus on is that we know that it performs changes to a contract document. So after you execute the custom program, let's say that the change logs and the results are available. You'll see them on screen, what was changed, what was updated, so on and so forth. But when you exit from the transaction, or worse, your internet has disconnected you from your SAP environment. At that point, you're quite unsure of the changes because you did not get a chance to review those change logs. Let's say we're talking about 1,000 documents and you weren't able to really review the logs and you got disconnected from SAP. So how can you review them? How do you ensure that the changes are accurate? Did the program update them correctly? Did it miss something out? Was there something that was not updated? So on and so forth. At this point, you need to find a way to track down all of those changes and revert them in case there are issues. So what do? One good example is to utilize the Cdhdr and Cdpos tables because now we know that it stores change logs. And what you can do is narrow down the changes to your SAP user ID, the specific date and time, anything that helps you narrow down the results. So below is a screenshot, an example of me trying to narrow down the results that was done by the Custom SAP Program. You'll notice that the same concept applies with the standard SAP Example. Once you execute this, you should receive a couple of results, and you can take note of those changed document numbers highlighted over here in orange. So in this example, I'm going to copy all of them, and I'm going to paste them over here in the Cdpos table. Once I'm done with that, I've established a link. I should be able to see the actual change logs that was done by the program. If we view the results of Cdpos table, it should look something like this, and you'll see that it also has the old value, the new value, the field that was changed, the type of change that was done, was it updated, was it deleted, so on and so forth. And with this, you can start with your analysis and your reviews. That's basically it for the Cdpos and Cdhdr tables. This time we're going to move on to the additional information portion, and this consists of some questions that may arise. First off, there is a changed on field found in the standard SAP table BKPF. Isn't that enough? Why do we have to go through Cdhdr and Cdpos? Here is a screenshot of BKPF, and there's a changed on field. Yes, you'll see who changed the document, but for you to understand the overall change, it's not enough to look at table BKPF. I mentioned that we can clearly see the SAP user ID that changed the document details, but we do not know what changed exactly. For that purpose, we can go to the two tables. Next question would be if there are change logs available for standard SAP transactions and even available reports to show changes for multiple documents, why should we use Cdhdr and Cdpos tables? For those who are not aware, below are some images that show the available change logs in SAP. So here, if you go to transaction code FB03, click on environment, document changes, and then click on all changes, you'll see an overview of the changes done for the document. Also, when you refer to this report, you can narrow down your search results and then view all of the changes done for the documents. Now, this is something that is readily available, but earlier I mentioned that the two tables, the Cdpos and Cdhdr, they are especially useful for instances or scenarios where there are no available change log view or reports that you can refer to. And this is something that is quite evident with some SAP custom programs that have been developed. And in case you encounter any of this, that's the time that you can utilize those two tables. That's basically it for the additional information. For our summary, what is the purpose? The two tables are available for your use so that you can check for the needed document change logs when it's not available. To differentiate the two SAP tables, Cdhdr is for change document header details, while Cdpos is for change document line item details. How do you use those two SAP tables? Simply go to transaction code SE16N, narrow down the results for table Cdhdr first, copy the changed document numbers from the table and paste them onto table Cdpos. This should give you the change logs that you need. Additional information, there's a changed by field in table BKPF. Isn't that enough? Again, the changed by field in table BKPF does not provide the actual changes that were done to the document, so it's not enough. If there are change logs available for standard SAP transactions and even reports, to show changes for multiple documents, why should we use the two tables? Again, this is utilized or beneficial for instances wherein change logs or reports are not readily available. So that's about it. I hope this helps you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.